Hello everybody, welcome to my Vision of Orgrimmar guide. This is going to be a commentary guide, which means I'm going through the vision with you, giving you some helpful tips and tricks. And even if you don't play Demon Hunter or not even a melee at all, this might be helpful for you as well, because we're going to talk about some things in general and how you actually deal with a 5 mask full clear run. But before we get started, I'd like to mention a few things before, like the talent tree, the cloak level, the weakauras I'm using, and the corruption usage. So as you can see, my talent tree is completely skilled, except for one talent on the right side, and that's a group talent. So I'd like to focus on the solo runs here. And of course, the further you get with the talent tree, the easier the vision will become. Same thing for the cloak level. My cloak is on level 15 at that point. The higher you get with your cloak level, the easier the vision will be. I'd like to show you 2 weakauras I'm using here because I find them pretty helpful. You can see them on the left side of the screen. The first one is the flask usage weakaura. It just shows you, depending on which flask the poison one is, what the other flasks are basically. And I just recommend to use the sanity flask because, I mean, the others are great as well, having some nice buffs. But the problem is that when they run out, they just sometimes, or some of them just give you a nasty debuff, like being disoriented. And in some situations, that might be not the best way to do this. So the sanity one is actually the one to go, in my opinion. I don't know. The other ones are nice, but not really needed. The second weakaura I'm using is the sanity weakaura. That's the one down below, and it just shows you how much sanity you have left, obviously, and the charges you have left. And the great thing about that one is it shows you exactly how many seconds you have left and makes it easier to decide, should I reset now or should I not? And you might recognize that I don't need any reset in this run and no free death and that stuff, but that might not be the same thing for you. So don't be too greedy, just use your resets, because there's nothing worse than actually failing the vision and having 2 charges left or something. So the last point I'd like to mention is corruption usage, because it happened to me and it was sad because it could have been a clear run, but I just got one-shot by the thing. The reason is you're using a mask who's actually increasing your damage taken by 400%. And I think I was playing with around 40 to 50. The thing just spawned, I didn't have any stun for it, I just got hit and it one-shot me for 500k, so don't do it. The only thing I'm using is the beam, and that's it. You don't need so much corruption, just go safe for it. So everything is said so far. I think we're ready. Let's get started. Okay, so before we dive right into it, I'd like to, show you the route I was running, and I hope you enjoy my paint skills. So we start with the first route, which is the white one. We run around the boss area, go into the first small area that's called the Drag with Garona, and I like to bloodlust the boss there because I find him pretty annoying and it's just easy to bloodlust him down and just circ him down. Then after you fought the boss, you just go right into the area behind. That's the Valley of Honor, and you have to defeat Rexxar there. So I'd recommend to use the free death for Rexxar. There are 2 methods you can actually do. Either you burst him down, that's where you actually need the free death. Just try to burst him. Just use every CD you have. Don't waste anything before, like beam. Even use beam for that. Use every CD on that, knowing you might probably die. Ignore the ads, just go full Rexxar and just circ him down. That's working. You can also try to play him clean. That means you have to bring him down to several percentages where he spawns the ads. I think the first ad is spawning at 80%. Then you focus the ad, interrupt, stun the ad, bring it down. Go on boss, bring him further down so he spawns next ads, and so on. The problem with that is that at some point, I think it's the second spawn, he spawns 2 ads at the same time. And if you don't have that many interrupts and not that many stuns, and maybe not the damage because you used everything before, that's going to be a problem. So I prefer the burst method because it's easier, and with an item level of, 465, 470, it's easy doable. So after you killed Rexxar, you just use the portal back, which brings you back at the start location because you don't want to run the whole way back. After you use the portal, you just go right into the second route, which leads you to the Valley of Wisdom. That's the one in the north. And right into the last small area, the Valley of Spirits. After you did all 4 areas, you go for the last boss, for the Thrall in the Grommash Hold. And I'd recommend to, save Bloodlust for that because he got 2 of the Rexxar ads. Don't make the mistakes just to try to cleave them. Just focus the ads at the start, Bloodlust them down, and then go full boss. It makes a huge difference because you might die if you don't focus the ads. So one last advice, use flask, use food, use pots, and use Bloodlust. It makes everything so much easier. Okay guys, so at the start, if you can stealth through the mobs. There's no point in killing them if you don't have to. But if you have to, just go group by group. There's no need to pull like I do here because I don't think it gives you time back. Because there are some annoying casters in there and they are spawning even more annoying totems, grabbing you back the whole time. You will see what I'm talking about. And yeah, I don't think I gained any time here. So just go group by group, that's fine. There's not an issue. You got the time. So in this house right behind me, there can be an NPC in it. If you kill it, you gain 10% damage increase. And this is the flask telling you which one is the poison. This is a black flask, that means in this run, black will always be poison. And so, as the weak aura is showing you, green is always sanity. So that's actually the only important vial, is the sanity one. You can collect the others, but I don't think there's any need in it. So we're entering the first small area. I'm just doing these 3 mobs solo because it's less annoying with the big one. And we get another debuff in here. It's the fire knocking back one. So it means you get just knocked back from time to time and leave a fire void. That's a bit unlucky for the last boss and you will see why. So I'm going to do this one solo. There's the beam, you just can't avoid it. You can just try to run against it and not stand in your own voids, and try to avoid this one, the smash void or whatever this is, because it costs sanity if you stand in it. Don't forget to activate Garona here, by the way, because you can't open the doors further down and you have to go back, and it costs time. It's just stupid. In this house there's another buff, and if this is active you can just click on it, and if you're good, don't jump like a retard, obviously. Just click on it, activate the mob that's spawning right now, and just kill it. And I believe you gain 10% haste increase. In these mob groups, there's only one mob really important, that's called the Dominator, because he's casting touch from the abyss or something like that, and it's going to stun you or fear you or something like that for 3 to 4 seconds, I believe. Not good. So make sure you interrupt the Dominator, or just focus it down, or just stun it, or whatever. As you can see, there's also one ad following me. That's not the normal corruption ad, it's just also a debuff. So this shouldn't reach you because you get stunned otherwise. So after you actually opened all the doors, there's also another mob spawning. Make sure you kill it before you go into the next mob group, because you might want to reset sanity before, and if the NPC is in combat with that one, you can't, because you might be in combat as well. Here another Dominator as well, focus it down before he gets the cast through, or just interrupt or stun it to make sure you're not get stunned. So after you actually open the last door, you got a bit of time until the boss is actually active. And you can use the time to try to look for some flask here, or just try to collect some chests or anything like that. Wait for the knockback, or for the, fixating mob is going away. If you got the time, whatever. So what you do, I'd like to use Bloodlust here, and he's doing a cast, and usually if you stand in the boss, like this cast, it's not hitting you, but for some reason it didn't work. Maybe I wasn't close enough, I don't know. Usually you just run around the boss when he's doing the cast. Just choose one direction and just run around the boss, and try to avoid to get hit by that, because in a unlucky situation that might cause you wipe, or just a waste of your free death.
Revival, a few days in and he can already say San Francisco, I've been there before. I kicked down the door at those golden gates. It's San Francisco, I've been there before.
So the next area is the Rexxar area, and you'll get a mini boss at the very beginning. So if you're like half sanity gone or something, you can fill it up with that one. You can either do it solo, or you pull it with the mobs behind. I recommend doing solo, because this mob is knocking you back, and if you don't stun it, then it's breathing right into your face.
One room, blanket in a Bible, all that he had. Some days never saw the sun on streets so tender, and some nights they felt like fire, so against going mad. Hey, San Francisco, I've been there before. I kicked down the door at those golden gates. Hey, San Francisco, I've been there before. So near to the shore, but so far away. Here we go, San Francisco. Here we go, San Francisco.
I also do group by group here, because if you have to reset sanity and then you run from one group into another, and there are some things coming together, you can't reset, you just waste your free death. It's just annoying, it's just not worth it. Just go group by group, you'll be fine, you get the time. I really like the corruption beam here, because it helps a lot with trash, and also with some boss ads you probably have, like Rexxar for example, and I really like to use that one here.
I've been there before. I kicked down the door at those golden gates. Yes, San Francisco, I've been there before. So near to the shore.
I also clear the whole area, because it just gives me space. And as you can see, in this area you got the freeze buff. This boss is doing a breath, and I think he's spawning voids. Try to move as less as you can, because otherwise you won't make it out of the voids probably. Because the frost debuff is just stacking up. The more you move, the higher it stacks, and the less you can move. So if you can't move anymore, take a deep breath, just stay for a while, and then you're okay. Another one, you should actually stun that, so it's not knocking you back and breathing right into your face.
Down the door at those golden gates. Yes, San Francisco, I've been there before. So near to the shore, but so far away.
So what I'm doing now is just collecting stuff, because I was waiting for my beam to get ready. If you don't have the time, because your sanity is kind of draining, make sure you have the beam for Rexxar ready, and you don't waste time here. I don't care, because my cloak level is so high and I don't lose any sanity. And I don't know if you've seen that, there was an ad spawning, that this is another debuff, which actually is spawning a void around you with an kinda ad inside, and if this void is running out and you're just standing in the circle, you got feared. So that's another debuff. Make sure you don't stand in that circle.
Yes, San Francisco, I've been there before. So near to the shore, but so far away. Here we go, San Francisco.
So I prefer the burst method here. Well, I don't think if it counts as a Demon Hunter because I got Beam, I got the Iris, you will see. There's an ad spawning. Make sure you don't stand in the traps because that might cause a wipe. Just use the Beam for the first ad and Zerg, Rexxar kind of. Try to cleave the others. Doesn't really matter because you can just Zerg down Rexxar. I got lucky, I got a Beam proc and I got another Beam. And yeah, I think that's Corruption Life, I don't know. After that, we're just using the port back because you don't want to run the whole way back.
Music City by the bay. Oh, here we go, San Francisco. I've been there before. I kick down.
Yeah, and as I said, usually you got the free death for Rexxar, so in case you wipe there, there's nothing bad about that. You don't need it anywhere else. There are 2 mobs in front of the boss room. I kind of freestyle do them sometimes, I don't know. I could have done it in the first run as well. I just do them now. The only thing I make sure is not to do them right before the boss and just waste my cooldowns on them, because that's sad. And interrupt the cast, by the way, because otherwise you get, I think, feared, a stun, something. That's not good.
A few days in that he can already say San Francisco. I've been there before. I kicked down the door at those gold.
So what we're doing now is going into the second big area, basically. One small advice, make sure before you leave an area you're out of combat, because otherwise you might still be in combat the whole time and you can't reset. It just caused me a wipe once and that's sad, so make sure you're out of combat. This boss isn't doing much. I think he's only doing a charge and a cast in front of him, so don't stand in the charge. Make sure you don't stand in a cast, that one. Just coming back and forth, the boss. And yeah, that's it.
So tender, and some nights they felt like fire, so kids going mad. Hey, San Francisco, I've been there before. I kicked down the door at those golden gates. Hey, San Francisco, I've been there before. So near to the shore, but so far away. Here we go, San Francisco.
So entering the next big area, I think we got, the freeze debuff as well, so make sure not to move too much. And I think there are people doing it differently. You got 2 small bosses, one on the left and one on the right side. I think you usually go for the right one first because it gives you sanity back without actually losing anything. The one on the left side is doing a smash and you can't avoid lose sanity there. So usually you go right first to stack up your sanity a bit and then you go left. I just went left because I have a bunch of sanity here, so there was no reason to actually worry about that. Since you are working with an NPC here, and it feels like sometimes they are, I don't know, have their own life and own minds, make sure not to stand too close to the next mob group if you want to reset. It just happened to me that I just wanted to reset, got too close. I wasn't even in the aggro range from the next group, but the NPC just charged right into it. I was in combat then and I couldn't reset and I just wiped, so that was sad. Just make sure if you want to reset, don't go too close, especially in that area when you work together with an NPC. They just, I don't know, they're mean sometimes, I guess. Yeah, this is the boss who's actually doing the smash and he can't avoid the sanity loss. So, you just want to actually get him down as fast as you can because you only want to have one smash and not the second one. So as you can see, he's using, that's a smash. You can't avoid the sanity, but don't stand in the void after, of course. And then you just want to get him down as fast as you can, so you probably don't get a second smash. There you can, by the way, see the ad spawning and the circle I was talking about. I was trying to loot something and it just exploded right beneath me. I was standing inside and I got feared, so that's the other debuff I was talking about.
Hey, San Francisco, I've been there before. I kicked down the door at those golden gates.
So the next boss isn't really hard at all. It's just about dodging all the voids and not moving too much, because we still got the freeze debuff, and some people might have struggled with it because, you know, usually you just move and maybe move too much, I don't know. Maybe it's not a caster issue, it's more a melee issue, but yeah, just make sure you don't move too much. And then I think he only got 2 abilities. It's 2 voids spawning. So the first one is just a perm void, it's not despawning, this one, so make sure you don't stand in it. And the next one is just a lot of voids, just don't stand in that as well. And that's basically it.
He says the streets are all the same. Hey, Music City.
So the last boss is kind of, I don't know, it has been kind of end boss for me for a long time, because there are a lot of things you should look for, especially if you got the slow debuff. Don't move too much still. It's just a bit about coordination. So he's doing a beam, you will see. I think this beam, you shouldn't stand in that. Then he's casting some voids around him. Don't stand in the voids as well. And actually the next ability, you see the whole bunch of bubbles around the boss. Don't stand in the bubbles because you will get stunned. And the problem is, if you do, he's casting the beam right after. If you get stunned in the beam, you're probably dead. See, I got stunned. And luckily the boss died right after, but if we had cast the beam and, you know, I'm low on sanity or something, I could have been dead. So last small area, this is only killing the mobs around the totems and just activate the totems. Make sure you don't forget to activate the totems, because otherwise you have to go back and look for the one you actually forgot about, because you can't activate the further ones if you forgot one in between. And usually on the other side, when you look on the right side right now, there's also a mob standing giving you a buff, but I usually don't kill that mob. If I do, I just do it solo, because it polymorphs you and you just can't, I don't know if you can avoid it. I haven't found any way to avoid the polymorph yet, so I don't know what the buff is. I think it's just something about, I don't know. I have no idea what the buff is giving you. I just never kill that because it's pretty much at the end and you don't need it, so. So in this area you can see we also get the knockback debuff. So in the small areas we got the fire knockback, and the big areas we got the freeze debuff. Or, you know. The problem in this area is that the last boss is kind of spawning waves, and if your positioning is kind of not good and you got knocked back into a wave or 2 or even 3, that might be a wipe. So yeah, you will see what I'm talking about. Just make sure your positioning is good, you don't get knocked back in a wave or something, and then everything's fine.
Touchdown, looking for the darkest street on the bay.
Well, there's actually a third debuff, which spawns an ad when you... Sometimes spawns an ad when you're on below 50 sanity. That never happened to me here because I've never been lower than 50 sanity. So as you can see, there are waves spawning. Then you got the silence one, find the orb, go back to the boss. And make sure if you get knocked back, you don't stand in a wave, or you don't get knocked back in a wave. That's pretty sad.
Some days never saw the sun on streets so tender, and some
last but not least, it's Thrall. It's a combination from all boss fights you have been into it before. And as you can see, there are the 2 Rexxar ads. Just try to kill them and don't stand in the smash like I did. Yeah, focus the ads, but try to avoid the smash, because the sanity loss is pretty huge if your cloak isn't on the item level, or you know, the skill tree isn't that high. Try to avoid everything possible. Don't stand in the smash. Don't stand in anything kind of void-like. Knock down the shield and make sure you kind of collect the orb to end the silence, and then that's basically it.
Been there before. I kick down the door at those golden gates. It's San Francisco. I've been there before. So near to the shore, but so far away. Here we go, San Francisco. Here we go, San Francisco. Far away. Here we go, San Francisco. Here we go, San Francisco. Undeniable touchdown.
So that's the guide. I hope it helps you a bit with your 5 mask vision clear run. If you liked it, give me a thumbs up, and I'd be really happy about some subscriptions. And yeah, thanks for watching.
I've been there before. I kicked down the door at those golden gates. It's